the LSAT, how do I do the thing? And it gets really overwhelming. And the key goal, like whatever, if you're studying or if you're planning, you just want to make sure that you're not getting too overwhelmed. Access code.
It says access denied.
Let me see. Oh, sorry about that, guys. Okay, so I think it should be good now. Yeah, it's coming off of my school email. So the default is is
Block
school. And I
everything.
definitely, huh?
Block everything.
Yeah. So I definitely recommend, make a copy of it so you can kind of work on your own on this template. But the goal is that way we can figure out, what does your week look like? I think Nicole shared Angelica was feeling really stressed because she had so many things on her plate and just didn't realize it. And I think oftentimes the more that we can kind of pinpoint what's on our plate, how does that, contribute to anxiety? How are we going to build our study schedule in a way that works for us so we can, be kind to ourselves? This is what the goal of the week on a page is. So a lot of you work full time. Great.
Who works full time? Put in the chat if you work full time. Malika was just saying she has 165 cases. That's crazy.
That's so wild. Yeah, so we've got a lot of folks working full time. And so sometimes you like, I imagine, like, as somebody who's studying, also working full time, I was so stressed because I was like, where is my time coming from? And here I was thinking I had to study 10 hours on a Saturday because that was the only time I could study. But, oftentimes, that's not going to be the most effective way to study, because you're going back and back and back and back. You might take a practice test, you're trying to review your practice test and then study even more. Your brain is burning out and you're not able to build the skill. It's kind of like, you can't run a marathon and go say, now I'm going to go train for my next marathon the same day. It doesn't work like that, right? So what we're going to do is, and I'm going to let y'all kind of, make a copy and start working on this yourselves. Like, I want you to plug in, what are your work responsibilities? Like, when do you work? So if you're working full time, typical 9 to 5, you would just block out. I wonder, can I annotate? I can't annotate.
Of course.
I can't find the annotation. I'm dumb.
You go to more options in the middle and click annotate. But so like 9 to 5 if we're working, that's not on Sunday.
Right. So you just kind of block out, 9 to 5 is your work time. I think that's 9 to 6. So I'm being picky, but like often, like when I was working 9 to 5, I knew that hour after work, I was not going to get anything done. I needed to completely switch over my brain. So I knew that I was going to enjoy my life a little bit. And so like whenever I was making my week on a page, like some people block out 9 to 5 and they know that that hour after work is going to be the most productive for them. I blocked that out. I was like, that's my dead brain space time. So I'm not even going to schedule myself to study then. I'm not going to start studying until 7, right? So just like that, we can see that our week is like so focused around work and it looks really daunting. But that's okay. We're going to kind of get to it. And I think when folks are working, I probably only recommend 2 to 3 hours of studying. Like anything more than that is overkill and you're probably not sleeping enough. And I think
10 to 15 hours a week.
10 to 15 hours a week. Yeah.
Every day, because some days, or you might be, depending on what your workload is, some days like it's like, on Tuesday I'm going to be a little bit more tired and study my 3 hours, and every other day I'm going to do 1 hour type of like whatever that is for you, like how you want to do that. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Jasmine.
Oh no, you're good. Yeah,
your goal. I need to keep track of my hours per week. And that's why I love this so much, is I have so many students that tell me, oh, I want to study 20 hours per week. And they think they can do it. But then whenever we pull up a calendar, like there's literally not 20 hours that they can study. Like, they're like, it's almost like we're not being realistic with ourselves. Anyway, sorry.
Right. And I think to build on that, when we don't meet our goal of 20 hours and we don't realize that we just don't have the 20 hours to do it healthily, we start to beat ourselves up and we start making the process negative. And the whole process has got to be positive, guys. Like I sound like a yogi sometimes, but man, like you really got to build yourself positive things. You got to gamify it. You got to be kind to yourself, because otherwise this is a long and hard road. So what I encourage you to do is kind of think about what what day are you like, I typically recommend to folks take a weekend off, or, if you break your Saturday and Sunday, half the day you're committing to not doing LSAT. You're spending that with your family. You're spending that in self-care time. And then what parts of the weekend are you building in time? Because those are going to be your practice test days. Those are going to be your practice test review days. And for me, I was like, I don't do anything on Sunday. I Sabbath hardcore. I take naps. I watch movies. I do all that good stuff. And Saturday is my grind day, right? Some people need to break it up in two parts.
We have to hold ourselves accountable as tutors too, because we want to meet, just as like you want to study and meet your family, like we want to meet your needs. It's really hard for us to say no to, oh, can we meet at 9 p.m. or can we meet on Saturday? Can we meet on Sunday? So if you ever hear it from us too, it's because we have to set those boundaries for ourselves too. Like we are telling ourselves like, hey, if we want to take one day off on the weekend, like we should be allowed to too. And just as you should. And it's being
Right.
on the same team. Like we want to be on your team and get it.
Yeah. And I think I know it's like, that's just like something that came up for me this year. I was like, I'm not resting and I'm not really spending enough time with the people that I love. And so like for me, I know that like I'm now getting to the point where I can split my Saturday and Sunday in half and say the morning to the late afternoon is totally for me and my family. And then the rest of it can be for whoever else. Like you can have that time. I'm only now getting to that point where it's feasible. So you know yourself best. We're not going to prescribe a certain study like schedule to you. We want you to have ownership of this and know that this might be a template and you might have to change it, week to week. That's okay. But we're able to track the hours that we're studying based off of this. Because I think some people are super visual or just don't think about it otherwise. So go ahead and kind of think for yourself, like what's your goal?
The other thing that there's benefit is if there's other people in your life at the beginning of the week, I used to do this with some people in my family, share your study schedule with them so that they know when they can call you, when they can ask for you, especially if you're taking the January test. Unfortunately, we have to be a little bit selfish with our time this month so that we can be less selfish in the future. And there's people in our lives that ask a lot of us, and we're attorneys. Most of us are wanting to do this for amazing reasons, and it's because we want to give. But unfortunately, we don't get to do that as a career unless like we take a little bit right now, and that's our time. We do have to be a little bit selfish. And in my experience, if I communicate that to my loved ones in advance, they're more understanding when I say no because I'm studying, or to get help. So if I have children, or if I had children, if I had a spouse, whatever that is, maybe asking them, hey, can you truly watch the kids on Tuesdays and Thursdays for these 2 hours? I know it sucks, but in March I got you, because, and like really overly communicating that. And so when you're doing this, I also want you to write down a plan. Who are two or three people that you know are in your court that you can reach out to help with some of these situations so that you can have the space to study, or people that you need to reach out in advance and just let them know, hey, I'm not mad at you. I'm not any of those. I'm just letting you know that I'm studying because I'm taking this seriously and I need you to help me hold myself accountable.
I love that.
Communication.
Yeah. And I think, for those of you who've been studying so far, I think you realize like, okay, not a lot of people understand the trials that this process requires. Not everyone understands. I think, Nicole, you said earlier, can you just call them back? Like people don't necessarily get the intricacies of studying for this test and law school admissions. And so just like opening that door of communication is going to be helpful for them. It's going to be helpful for you because then you don't have to explain so much. You already put something out there that helps them to start to understand. And that's super key.
Right.
How are we doing so far?
Take like 5 minutes and everybody go ahead and work on your calendar. And go ahead and just say done in the chat when you're finished.